Okay, this video is to demonstrate a stitch that I'm using in a blanket. Could be made into a scarf, a baby blanket, a rectangular shawl, any number of things it could be used for. And the stitch I'm making is a double crochet, half double crochet decrease in combination. First, I want to show what a normal double crochet decrease is. You yarn over your hook, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. You have 2 on your hook. Yarn over again, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. You have 3 on your hook, you yarn over again, and pull through all 3 loops. And you have decreased from 2 to 1. This is a half double crochet decrease. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop. Yarn over again, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. You have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops. And you can see that they look different. The double crochet one is a bit taller. Okay, this is the double crochet, half double crochet decrease. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Exactly the way you would to start a double crochet decrease. Yarn over again, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop. You have 4 stitches on the hook, or 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. And for this pattern, I always chain 1 after the decrease to maintain my stitch count. Again, very slowly. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over again, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 4 loops. Chain 1. Another one, yarn over, and chain 1. And that is the double crochet, half double crochet decrease that I am using in this blanket pattern. Okay, now I want to show you how I begin the blanket that I use this stitch in. Do your slip stitch however you want, and instead of doing the norm and chaining multiple stitches, we are starting this a bit differently. We're going to start off by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to yarn over, go into the first chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, a double crochet. And that created a very nice loop. And we're going to be using that loop to crochet into. So we're going to chain 3 again. That's 2 and 3. And then we're going to yarn over and do our double crochet into that space that we created with the chain 3 and the double crochet. We'll do that again. Oops. I'm not lying about redoing this. This yarn has been used over and over again. And it's old yarn to begin with, and we'll do 2 more. 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, and go into there. And okay. And you have a nice little chain of loops. So we are going to be working, I call this a base row. If you want to call it row 1, that's fine. But the next row is going to be worked into the sides of these double crochets. You can pick up 1 or 2 stitches, whatever is comfortable for you, or 1 or 2 of the loops, I mean. But we're going to be working all the way along into the stitches. So I like to slip stitch into place into the top side of that. And there's going to be 2 edge stitches on each end, and the edge stitches are half double crochets, and you are welcome to chain 2 and then go into the bottom side of the double crochet and do your half double crochet, or you can look up an excellent video and see if you can make a standing half double crochet. I have never been able to make one that functioned properly, that didn't look wonky and wasn't hard to crochet into later and so forth. So what I'm doing instead is making the shortest standing double crochet that I can. And to make it less bulky, I twist it a couple of times. Then I take and I yarn, holding this in place, I yarn over, I go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2, and it does somewhat resemble a double crochet, but it is a little bit short. And if you're using chain stitches and you tend to chain tightly, you might even want to do 3 chains there. Okay, now to the main part. We're going to be placing our special stitch, the double crochet, half double crochet decrease, into each of these sides of each of these stitches along here. To begin, when you're working this back and forth in rows, this stitch, you do not do a chain 1 after the beginning edge stitches. So we're going to right away get into, I think I should have picked a different yarn, but this one showed up so well on the video. It's hard to get into now, but okay, and we do the second half of it, the half double crochet part of it, and then we chain one. After every double crochet decrease, you chain one. We go into the next one, and the second half, and we chain one. We go into the top and do the double crochet part. And then we do the half double crochet part in the bottom half of the double crochet stitch there. And then we chain one. And this is our last one. Go into the side of that stitch and do our double crochet decrease part. And now we do the half double crochet decrease part. And we chain one. And I will point out, if you forget that chain one, then when you start to do the next row, your stitches will be off, and you'll end up having to rip out and do it all over again. So, how do I know that? I've done it. But there is that makes this a self-correcting, oh goodness. I guess I've ripped this out too many times now. Not 147, but more like 6. Okay, let's try it again here. You need enough to crochet with here. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to try pausing it, and okay, we're back. All right. So I've chained one, and I've done my 2 edge stitches here, and both of those are half double crochets. And I'm going to just simply chain one since this, or chain 2 since this is a swatch. Pointing out that when you chain, make sure that you realize that it counts as coming out of this stitch, and it counts as a half double crochet. And then we go into the next stitch, the top of the half double crochet, and make our half double crochet there. Okay, now this is the rule with this stitch. When you're working it back and forth in rows, in order for them to line up on top of each other and not get out of whack, you need to do the no chain one, and you need to go do the first part of your decrease, the double crochet part, into that chain that I told you not to forget. And then you go into the top of the decrease from the row before to do the half double crochet part of it, and you chain. And you do that all the way across. And chain. Okay, now I want to show you what happens if you do get out of whack. If you say miss this stitch, forgot to chain one, you would be going into the next stitch. Oh, here, let me rip back and show you back here. It's easier. If you forget that chain one and you go into the next stitch and then into the chain one, you're going to have a totally different look. You could make that a design feature, but they're not going to line up over each other like these do. It doesn't end up to be the same stitch or the same effect. So, and then you would have to figure out when to do your chain one stitches and how to get it to come out. so that you have the same number of stitches each row. With this, it does come out with the same number of stitches each row. So there. And you can see how they line up very nicely right over each other. So have a nice texture too. And then chain 2 and turn and do your half double crochet in the top of the half double crochet, and start your decrease in the top in the chain 1 and finish in the top of the decrease, and you work that all the way across. And I will show a very slow stitch showing where it goes in the top of the, or in the chain 1 space. Bring it up, yarn over, pull through 2 like the beginning of a double crochet decrease. Yarn over, go in the top, catching the 2 loops, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. So that is how to begin the blanket, the pattern that I'm writing up. Okay. Oops, I bumped the camera. Okay. Now I have done this multiple times too, so we're going to use this and pretend this edge isn't on here, that it's just like this edge. Here's the beginning of your blanket, and or your scarf or shawl, whatever you're making. And I'm going to show you how to make it so that the last row can look like the beginning. So okay, this is where you would end up. Actually, it would be right here. It pulled out. There, it would be right there. Okay, chain 3, and go into the space between your 2 edge stitches and the next decrease, basically around that chain 1, and do a single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet between chain 3, single crochet between each set of stitches. And even though there is not a chain 1 here, you could put one on that very last row if you think about it. You go between the last stitch and the edge stitch, chain 3, and do not do a single crochet. Just simply go into the edge and slip stitch. And you have your top looking the same as your bottom. Now, with the edges along the sides, you could do single crochets all the way along, but I'm going to show you how you would figure out if you wanted to make it like this one. Like I said, I've redone this so many times now. And so this time I just left this in. But what I did, and what I would recommend if you're doing a larger one, is that you measure how long your side is and do some simple math. Measure your side, measure how long it is for, say, 2 stitches, okay, or 3, or whatever. Does not matter. Whatever is easy for you to multiply and divide. 2 is easy, and it's a little more accurate than trying to do 1. But I'm gonna, what I did, not having a ruler here to figure this out, I just measured from the tip there to here, and that's 2 stitches, and I just held it up along here and went, okay, I can get 5 stitches along this edge. There are 7 rows in the little swatch here, but 5 stitches is what fits comfortably, okay? So I'm going to show you how you would go about doing that. As an example, let's say you measured this and it's from here to here, say it's 1.5 inches, and you measure your side and it's 36 inches. And so you would basically do that math and figure out how many you would fit in that 36 inches. And if it was that long of a side, I would actually divide it in half, or possibly even in quarters, and try to fit the correct number of stitches in each section, rather than having to rip the whole thing out because you get to the end and realize it's you don't have enough, or it looks wonky. I will tell you, it does not work if you put too many along the sides. And you can, I mean, if you had the blanket I'm making, when I decided to try this, had 27 rows, and what fit after ripping out, because I didn't do this measurement first, what fit was 19 or 20. I think I went with 20. So I'm going to show you what you do to do it along the sides. You do not single crochet in that corner. We're going to use that corner for the stitches for the border, if we do a border. 1, 2, 3, and then evenly space according to what you decided about how big to make them. Try and make them about basically the same size as these. 1, 2, 3, and just pick up wherever you can fit in. 1, 2, 3, and I think that'll work. 1, 2, 3. And when you're making your blanket, once you get that done, you're going to want to eyeball it, and I would do this for each section, eyeball it and see if it looks even, and rip out and redo if you need to. Okay, and you do slip stitch in the corner, okay? And this could be left this way, or you could do single crochet stitches over each one of the loops, basically whatever you wanted to finish off. I'm going to show how you would do this so that the basically what I'm going to show you is how you would do this stitch as a border, working in rounds. It is a little bit different, and if you had any stitch pattern, could be single crochet, double crochet, whatever, for the inside of your blanket, made the loops and chain single crochets all around it, made them even so that they look right, this is how you would begin to make it into a border. Chain 3 and work back into that place where you slip stitched and do a double crochet. Chain, and this counts as a double crochet. Now the blanket I was working on, I did half double crochets and they looked absolutely fine. When I was doing about 4 versions back, I was doing that half double crochet and the corners didn't have enough height, and it was kind of bulging in the center and not tall enough. So I went with this. Now you chain 1. This is another rule that's different. After you do your corner, you chain 1, and then you're going to work the pattern stitch into these chain stitches. And after every double crochet, half double crochet decrease, again, you chain 1. And you work that across. And just fit them wherever they fit in the chains. And okay, we're up here to the corner, and I want to show you how you do the whole corner. You chain 1 after your decrease. You go into the same place where you slip stitched or came out of, and you do your either half double or double crochets, whatever you think looks best. Chain 1, you've done 2, and you do 2 more. 1, whoops, come on, and 2, and you chain 1 again, and you just work down this edge, working into those chain stitches and doing the decrease, chain 1, decrease, and chain 1. And I am going to pause and come back when I've gone all the way around and show you how to join here. And go back because it will not work out. Let's try again. Okay. If I can figure out editing, I will take out the last part, but I probably won't be able to figure it out. So when you get to this point, make sure that you have two double crochets and a chain 1 in each corner with a chain before and after your corners. So go around and check that. See, I fixed it. Okay. So you're going to come up, you've done your last, and you chain 1, and you're going to go into the same spot that the others came out of and do 2 double crochets. And instead of chaining 1, I like to do what I think is called a half double crochet join. You yarn over like you're going to do a half double crochet, go into the top of the chain 3 that you began the round with, pull up a loop, and pull through both loops, and if you tighten it up, it ends up to be about the same size as the chain one in the corners. If you do it loosely, it could be like a chain two, but we want it small. And you start over again doing a chain three, go into the space here and do a double crochet, chain one. Now I want to explain why we're chaining one here. This stitch here gets kind of covered up by the chain stitches, or by the double crochet stitches, and I think it looks better and works out better if you make your first part of your first decrease, the DC part, in the top of that second half double or double crochet, and then the rest of it in that chain that you did. And it gives the corner a little bit more space so that it doesn't get too crowded. That's why we're doing that extra chain one. Now, that said, for all of the other chains, when you're working the stitch in the round, you need your first part of your decrease, the DC part, you need to do it in the top of the decrease of the round before. Whoops, I did not chain one after my decrease there. So you do it, go in there, and you finish it in the chain, not the space, but the actual chain. And then chain one. And you can see that this lines them up on top of each other. And if you don't want them lined up, then you would have to figure out how to make the stitch count come out right. I like them lined up. They seem organized, and I think it makes a nice texture and a nice stitch pattern. I'm going to show you what you do in a corner. Okay. So we're up here to this corner, and we're simply going to use these two stitches and do a decrease. Just like normal. And chain one. Then in this chain one space, we will do a double crochet and a second double crochet, chain one, and then two more double crochets. And again, you can see how this kind of covers up that stitch. So having this chain one there works very well. Oops. Get in there. And chain one, and continue on, and you can see that they will line up right over one on top of the other. And you can work that all the way around. Whoops. And you would, when you get to the end of your round, you would join the same way with the half double crochet join in order to put you in position in the corner where you need to be to continue. So that is how to do it as a border. So you could actually, I suppose, start a blanket with very small number of stitches like you would a granny square or something, and then start working this border all the way around. Might be an interesting project. but I don't like joining squares, so I suppose you could start it and just have it keep getting bigger and bigger. That would be okay too, like a continuous granny or something. So that is how to do the double crochet, half double crochet decrease. So let's have that there for a minute without a bunch of stuff in the way. Maybe it'll make it so when I post on Facebook, I'll actually get a shot that they will show something that makes sense instead of the beginning of it or something. I never get a good shot and it never shows a good picture of my project, so hopefully this will. I like the texture, you can see through it. It's not too dense. I'm working, this is worsted weight, normal worsted weight, not real thick but not super, and I'm using a 5.0 millimeter hook for this one, which is probably why it worked better for the corner stitches to have double crochets, because I was working the bigger blanket is a 3-weight yarn, and I was using a 5.5 millimeter hook because I wanted it quite lightweight, not as dense as this one is. So that is it, and we'll see how this one turned out.